This is Dave Schuman here for the Success for Life podcast. I have on Savon Huggins with me this week. Savon Huggins is doing a couple really interesting things, and I just found out about one of them. But he runs an alliance group and his own company called TeamDoWit, and he's doing training of athletes and developing athletes. And I actually first got to know him. Actually attended my combines back when he was in high school. I think he was a ninth grader. That's the first time I met him. His road has taken him when he was in high school. He was an All-American at St. Peter's Prep High School, and then went to Rutgers, and I think finished his career over at Northern Iowa as a successful running back. And I think that's one of the features of what you train. That's your specialty, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you do other things. And we'll talk a lot about that. But I think it's really cool. This is the second week in a row that this guy that came through the events, which I started way back in 2005. That's doing his own thing, and I think it's really, really exciting. And I think that's one of the exciting things about doing what we get to do is that not only do you get to help young people get an opportunity and potentially succeed and take it where they want to, but also you know if you stay around long enough, you get to see it come full circle. You get to see guys start to do their own thing the way that they want to do, and I think that's really it actually reinvigorates me.
Absolutely.
So it really excites me. So welcome, Savon,
Thank
to
you.
the Success for Life podcast. Why don't you tell? And I gave a brief overview. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what you're doing right now? So in your own words.
All right. So do it. DOWIT stands for Do Whatever It Takes. Is a motivational platform that encompasses training, motivation, and apparel. Essentially, it embodies a whole lifestyle. Do It started back when I was, in high school. Actually, I commuted 2 hours to school each and every day, back and forth. Woke up at 5, out the house at 6, school at 8, and got home late. And over that 4-year course, I was able to, get high honor roll and all those things. And despite my commute and the other obstacles I had, I was able to really, really be successful in high school with all these different scholarships, 60 plus scholarships. Had, that do it mentality, which was established back in high school. My coach had a theme back when I was a sophomore, was more than just my sophomore year. So, going to college, I still live by that do whatever it takes mentality. I used to wear a band on my wrist that had do it, and it got snapped. But my freshman year, I sprained my MCL. And that mentality, that phrase, that lifestyle really was in question when I got hurt. So it was like, okay, are you going to feel sorry for yourself, or are you going to, find a way to still do what you have to do in order for you to get to where you want to get to? So, obviously, for about a few days, I was in my feelings, but I realized, I got injured. My freshman season is over. But what can I do next? And I kept that mentality throughout my college career, which gave me an opportunity to graduate with an economics degree in 3.5 years. Then I had another opportunity to go play for a 5th year because I never allowed any external factor to affect, my ultimate goal. And that was to get my degree and to be successful, obviously on the playing fields, but in every facet of my life. That gave me another opportunity to go to University of Northern Iowa to play. Again, still thinking about that do it mentality of, went out there for 1 year, and I was my major for my master's was sports psychology. It's a 2-year program. I did it in a year, and no one believed I could do it. It's very unusual for a grad transfer to come into a school and to be able to, go there and do everything that you do and still get a degree. I was able to do that because I still believed in that do whatever it takes mentality. So that's how I established a business. I created a business out of that because it just resonated with me for so long. And I was like, listen, I want to be able to create something, an avenue for other student athletes. They don't have to go through the same things I went through. I can give them a template to help them get there. And with that mentality, again, with the motivational side of it, there's going to be things in your life that you can't control, but how you respond to it. And that's how I kind of formulate my training sessions. not with just my running backs, with everybody I train. I formulate everything into a sense where, listen, I'm not only going to attack you physically, but I'm going to attack you mentally. So when things don't go your way, how are you going to respond? And I think for, elite athletes being around the Muhammad Sanus and Devin McCourtneys and, playing against some of these guys, playing with these guys and learning from them, they do whatever it takes for them to be successful because their purpose is bigger than them. And that's how, the brand started. And, just, a little under a year, we've reached over to, if I'm not mistaken, I think South Korea. And not because of anything, because that mentality resonates with any and everybody. So that training went into a motivational platform, and that went to other people being like, I want to rock your apparel. I want to rock that. I want to be a part of do whatever it takes, because you know what? That I have an attachment to that too in what I'm doing. So that's how, do whatever it takes has been created, how I built a brand out of that. And, training, of course, is one of the pillars of it. But more importantly, that lifestyle of going out there and taking what's yours. If you want something, no matter how old you are, no matter what you've gone through, you can be successful. I mean, Eric LeGrand, a guy who came before me, is a prime example of doing whatever it takes. I mean, he can easily feel sorry for himself because he's paralyzed from the neck down, but he's been an inspiration to me and so many other people around this world. He's been in TV commercials, Michael Jordan commercials, all these different things, but he's all doing it to bring more awareness to his injury and to help other people understand that. And the fact he's able to leverage that and use his platform to help others has inspired me, and why other people are starting to take more interest in doing whatever it takes.
I think that's really interesting. And what made you, or when did you decide that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? You mentioned high school, that you started doing some stuff. I think there's a huge boom in that with, men and women in your age bracket, like entrepreneurial boom. It's funny because when I started doing my things, I didn't have a lot of people that I could rely on. There were some books and stuff like that, but now there's many more resources available, I guess partially because of the internet and stuff. But where did you get that bug from? Where did that kind of look?
To be honest with you, I always said to myself this, probably my sophomore, junior year in college, because I was still, living by do whatever it takes. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, but I knew like that phrase, that slogan has helped me get through so much in my life. I'm going to find a way to make a business out of that. And I honestly didn't know for a long time what I wanted to do. But when I finished playing football, and professionally, I started training kids. And most athletes, usually after they graduate or they're done, still are stuck in that, that gray area where they want to do with their life. So they revert to what they know. And that is being around the game they love, whatever sport that is. So I started training, athletes, football, basketball, baseball. And I kept preaching that same mentality, no matter who I was around, no matter how uneducated I sound as far as from a, physical standpoint, reps and sets and all that. I just took my experiences and what I wish I did know when I was their age and tried to implement those things in the youth. And one thing led to another. And I kept saying to myself, I want to make this a business. I want to make this a business. And I was afraid for a while. And I was like, you know what? I keep talking about doing whatever it takes. I said, how do I know what I'm capable of doing if I don't put myself out there? And when I put myself out there, I, was proactive in reaching out to different people and using my network to, how to LLC X, Y, and Z, what I want the logo to be, how I inspire everything in my vision. And literally one thing led to another. Even to this interview today, for me to feel even comfortable to be like, to reach out and to, I love what you're doing, to have a story behind me is because I just put myself out there. And me put myself out there has created different avenues and for other people to be part of do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes is, yes, owned by me, but at the end of the day, I don't own your do whatever it takes. You own who you are and whatever phase of your life you're going through. Because at some point, you're going to face adversity. Like at some point, something's bad, something's going to happen that you don't anticipate to happen. but it's the immediate response. How you handle that is what makes you define who you are. And that's how that brand, you know, it came to life and made me feel comfortable. Like, listen, like I live this, so I'm gonna just go out there and create a brand out of it. So it's been great, man.
What is it about that you think you kind of know now that as a player you would have liked to know? And obviously you accomplished a lot, right? A lot of kids would, could only dream of accomplishing what you accomplished. And obviously I know, you probably had even in higher goals, but there are also, 99.9% of population doesn't get to accomplish what you did. What did you learn? Do you think you learned as your time as an athlete? And that if you were talking to yourself, maybe in high school or something, what would you have tried to done differently, or what would you have tried to improve on knowing what you know now?
I think it's so important to maximize your opportunities when you are an athlete, a student athlete, whether you're in high school and college. And what I mean by that is when you become a premier athlete, no matter the sport, in this era, you become a mini celebrity, to be honest with you. And the better you are, the more, I guess, fame or the more likes, the more people who follow you, who know who you are. And at this point in this era, what I try to tell, even Brandon Wimbush, who and I, we go back and forth and I mentor him and all that, is to utilize the platform you have, because you only are going to have it for so long. And, I wish I would have known that when I was playing. I wish I would have networked, and I did, but I wish I would have went to more career fairs. I wish I would have, put myself out there, tried to figure out who I really was by, maybe I should, go to, if I like being, art, maybe I should go get involved with some art things. Maybe I should, create a brand. Maybe I should create a logo for myself while I'm playing. Maybe I should do more than just play. Maybe I should surround myself a little bit more, like train with my competitors, train with other people outside of myself, because I think when you train with guys who are all, I think especially when I was, in high school, everybody had their own trainer, like we had my trainer, so-and-so had a trainer. But I feel like at one point we never really all just worked out together. But I think working out with your competition brings the best out of you. And that challenges you and that helps to prepare you for the next level, because you have to get used to that type of competition, because it's different when you're in high school. You are the best in your team. When you get to college, everybody is the best on their teams. And a lot of people have struggled with the adjustment of the harsh reality of how much you are one mistake from not playing the position or getting that opportunity again. And that takes a toll on people's minds. So, for me, I think, that I strongly encourage to train with other guys that you're going up against on the daily. Train with those guys. Stay around that, because that keeps you sharp, number one. And two, to maximize your platform while you have it. If you want to create a brand while you're playing. Don't create a brand afterwards, because at that point, now you're kind of going backwards. But if you create a brand while you're in the midst of it, like, for instance, Rashawn Gary, he came out with that logo a year and a half ago. Now he's able to sell stuff. Lamar Jackson, in the website he created 2 years ago before he, came out, he couldn't sell anything. But the fact that he maximized who he was while he was in the middle of it, he was able to reap the benefits of it. Because guess what? They're going to use you, but how are you going to use them and utilize them using you to make, something for yourself? And I feel like nowadays people miss that point, a lot of the times. And then they kind of retract and go back. And nothing wrong with that, but like, you don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to do that now in this era anymore. Like, you can really capitalize on every opportunity and maximize it at the utmost while you're in it, and can play at a high level. And I think that will help people transition to whatever they want to do in their life. Because, we all say, why are they doing X, Y, and Z? But look at LeBron James, look at Kobe Bryant, look at Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, TB12. you know, LeBron James and the different schools he's creating, but he's doing that while he's playing. He's not doing it after. So I think those are the two things that had I known when I was, you know, 14 years old, I would have done more. I would have trained, competed. I would have trained with those guys that I'm competing against, and I would have maximized my opportunities as far as creating, you know, a brand for whatever I believed in, like even do it while I was in, you know, high school, while I was in college. And yeah, it may not pop, but you know what? I would have had another avenue for myself, you know, while I'm in the midst of it. And it would take off a lot fast, especially now in the social media day and age. So those are the two things I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously being able to practice and make mistakes when you have no risk at all, right? When you're in college, that's a really good thing. It's funny because I had started a business when I kind of did something a little similar to you. I graduated in 4. I had my 5th year. I started my MBA program in college. So, you know, I was kind of thinking that way back when I was in college, but I recognized it was hard because a lot of guys didn't think that way, and you're really doing something different. And ultimately, it helped me. I think more guys are starting to think a little bit the way that you're thinking. I think, and that's a good thing. Like you mentioned, Rashawn Gary, you know, with his own agency, and I think that's really interesting. What do you think are some things that guys can do to prepare themselves to be in a position to capitalize on that mini celebrity, so they can go and hit the ground running? What are some things that you think they could do to capitalize on that? Then when they graduate from college and they hit the ground running and they can go right into being an entrepreneur. What do you think? There's some things
I
they
think
can do?
one of the biggest things is to document what you're doing. I think that probably is the number one thing, is especially when you're at the elite level, everybody wants to know what you're doing different than everybody else.
Right.
Like what is it? What is LeBron James or what is Kyler Murray doing that I'm not doing that I can get to Kyler Murray status? And I think documenting your everyday, documenting how you feeling, documenting your ups, documenting your downs, documenting if you get it, documenting all of that, it puts in perspective that, listen, like, you're going through the same experience that the next person is, but nobody knows that because social media kind of weeds out the you know, the negatives, because you can only put on what you want to put on. But if you document those things from a early stage, for instance, Dwayne Haskins in the video he took when he was going to Ohio State prior to him being there, like, those videos are memories that I guarantee you one day if he blows up, just drafted, they'll be showing that video when he was in the training room when he was 8 years old, saying he wanted to go to Ohio State. But that only is going to happen because he documented that stuff at a young age. So I think it's key, no matter where you're at, is to start documenting those things now. Like Uninterrupted, we see all the time when the players, you know, take these videos of the experiences, how the draft process is going. Like, document those things early. Don't wait until you get there. 'Cause at that point, it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, depending unless you get there really fast immediately. But, you know, document those things as you go along, so you kind of have a folder, you know, of videos and pictures and all those things. So as you continue to grow, people can see where you started, you know, then you have a story to tell.
Well, I think that reference two things. The story to tell is really powerful because you can look back, and if you've documented everything, you can look at the story that you've been building, and you can get a realistic view of what you've done. And you can also understand, you can look back and say, okay, this is what I was thinking at this time period. Okay, I get it. All right, that's on the right track. Oh, this is what I was thinking. Oh, you know, I don't think that way anymore. And you can kind of build your own platform, and it gives you kind of like a choose your own path adventure of where you want to take it from all the information that you have, which I think is really, really cool. One of the things I did when I first started my business, this is way back in 2003, long before I was running combines and stuff. I actually wrote a book on speed and quickness training before I started my business. So I was sitting in, I had gotten my MBA already. When I worked out the business world for a little while, I decided I want to start my own company. Was also going to Columbia pursuing a master's in physical education, and I was boarding class, literally was boarding class, and I'm like, if I was training athletes on speed and quickness, and I come from like that track background because my father is still a track coach, and
Right.
so I started just jotting things down in class, right? And next thing you know, at the end of the semester, I literally had a book, and I put it together, and I started selling that book, and then I started training athletes, and I think, you know, the more people could do those kind of things, every time thoughts come to your head, you know, whether you're in the shower, whether you're at work, wherever it is, you know, jot those ideas down. It builds out a whole platform for you. And, you know, I don't know who said it, but like people overestimate what they can do in a day, but underestimate what they can do in 10 years, right? So you do that over time, and little things that you have over a long period of time, you start to have some. So like, you know, you're saying if you started at 14, 15, just jotting those things down with maybe no intention at all, but you're jotting them down or videoing them. And then by the time you're 24, you might have something really special. You might even have a book.
Absolutely.
I mean, who knows, right?
Right.
And
And you figure out what you love, you know.
absolutely.
Like you figure out what you love, because a lot of people get into whatever they get into and they don't enjoy it, and they chase the wrong things. But then you start to figure out, like, oh, I remember I know what I want to do. This is what I've been talking about my whole life. So then you find a way where you're content with whatever you're doing because you're doing what you love.
How important do you think people's success is derived from them doing something that they really enjoy doing every single day and passionate about? How important do you think is that in someone's becoming successful?
I mean, it's the number one thing, because you know, you put it back down to even when you're in grammar school or you're in high school or middle school. If you don't like a certain subject, you're just not going to put as much effort into it, as opposed to you. If I love math, I might be a great student in math, but I'm more engaged in the material. Like I can teach that material to somebody else. I might get a good grade in chemistry, but if I don't really care for chemistry, or I don't like science, I'm just studying it to you know, to get a good grade. But if someone asked me how to do it, I really couldn't tell you because I just was getting a grade in it. But if, you know, if I really enjoy math and I really like numbers, you know, if someone asks me, hey, can you tell us how, I have no problem helping them do that because I actually like numbers. So, you know, the more you love it, the more you're willing to go above and beyond, you know, what's required of you to do it. So I think that's the number one thing, because if you want to get to where you want to get to, you have to put in countless hours. And there's no such thing as overnight success. Overnight success is you blowing up because someone noticed it, but like there's no such thing as overnight. Like you one day you just thought of an idea, next day, no, like there's so much that goes into it. There's so many hours, you know, 12, 13, 14 plus hours a day doing it over and over and over and over and over again. It's like you're teaching yourself to grow up again in a different way as far as a business is concerned. Because once you do that, then you have no problem doing it for the rest of your life, because it's not work to you. Like if it's not work to you, you can go more than what's required because you actually enjoy it. So that is the number one thing. And that stops a lot of people from going to the next level because they don't really enjoy what they're doing.
Influences, what kind of, you know, for someone at your age to be able to put these kind of things together and have the, you know, sometimes it comes organically, but a lot of times people have influences that help them. I have, most people have. What kind of influences have impacted you, whether it's books, whether it's videos, whether it's, you know, your family? What kind of influences have impact?
You know, Heart of a Champion was definitely a book. Dr. Rob Gilbert, you know, Gary V, you know, Tony Robbins has, including yourself, you know, my parents, you know, I'm when it comes to networking, I am like a sponge. Like, I don't care if it's from a 10-year-old, you know, I just want to learn. Like, I really genuinely do. And that helps my sanity in being able to figure out and formulate different ideas. Because if you don't have clear thoughts, you know, it's really hard for you to figure out what you want to do, you know. So you know, the people around me are like I said, I all the time I thank each and every person around me, because they may not know it, but you have impacted me, whether my experience with you is negative or positive, in a way to help me grow.
Right. Right.
You know, and I've learned, like, you know, before, when I was probably between the ages of 18 and 22, something bad happened. I wouldn't say I didn't dislike that person or anything, but I didn't learn from that. Now something negative happens to me, I learn from that experience. Okay, like what happened? What went wrong here? What happened? Like, for instance, Above the Line by Urban Meyer is an outstanding book. And I learned so much that I already didn't recognize that I was doing from just reading, because he's articulating it. And that helped me to assess where I'm at in my life and to figure out, okay, what had this situation done to help me get to where I am now? Like, what negative things, like, if my college career, if I was a professional athlete right now, I can't tell you, maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe I'm not able to articulate it. Maybe I'm not as passionate because I didn't have as much adversity as maybe I thought I would. And like, all those things taken into account. So, you know, I enjoy my journey, and the people that has impacted me, you know, in every way, shape or way possible, has influenced me to learn. And when I learn, I use my, you know, my resources and what I learned and put that to work, you know. So, you know, looking up to guys like yourself and you building up, you know, a podcast platform that I aspire and I'm working on to do, helps me motivate me more, because if I want to get there, I need to surround myself with people who have done that. You know, the days of just doing on your own, like, it's physically impossible. Like, someone has to be your mentor. Someone has to be there to guide you in the right direction. You can't do it on your own. And to be honest with you, work smart, like a football term, work smarter, not harder. You know, we talk about the good old Riverside. Everybody want to know, just flip Riverside. You know, just work smarter, not harder. And that has been my mentality the last few years, as far as me getting where I wanted to get to. Reach out, be proactive. You know, nobody owes you anything. Ask questions. That's going to help you get to where you want to get to. So that's what I would say when it comes to influences.
Talk to me. So your position as far as NCAA coordinator with St. Peter's. I think this is so interesting. First of all, it's funny because the school I'm at, I had mentioned, like, because obviously this is what I do with NUC and stuff.
Right. Yes.
And I was like, I wish that they had this at a public school. And it's funny that as soon as you said it to me, I said, well, I'm glad that somebody's doing it, because I think that's such an important thing. And obviously St. Peter's has put out so many players at the college level, so they probably immediately see, like, a need for that kind of thing. Tell me a little bit about the position, but, like, you know, where you really see something like this going, especially in the age where, whether it's Division I or Division III, there's so many opportunities in sports.
Well, I think what it essentially does, my position bridges the gap between guidance and coach, because sometimes the coach does too much but doesn't know enough in the classroom, and the guidance counselor knows enough in the classroom, doesn't know too much on the field and how the sports world works. So I essentially bridge that gap. So any college coach that comes in the door, when they ask for, you know, paperwork, film, or whatever the case may be, I'm able to give those coaches that stuff on the spot without the coach reaching out to the guys and the guys reaching out to the coach. I can be that person to give you all the information right there. Any SAT information, you know, I'm there right there to help you. Anything as far as, again, guidance counselors may have, I don't know, maybe like 100 people per grade. You know, I have maybe 100, you know, to 150 athletes in general and all. But where I come in is I help the coach. So if you're the basketball coach, and I was actually with the basketball coach last night, you have, you know, a roster of 30 guys. I'll make sure I keep tabs on those 30 guys and make sure nobody's grades fall below a C+. So before, you know, guidance counsel, they have so many people on them, but I'm basically an academic advisor. So I help you make sure that, listen, we cannot fall behind this 8 ball. What do we need to do to help you to stay on track? What can you do? Can you see the teacher? Can you do X, Y, and Z? Because not too many times guidance counselors aren't doing those things. And sometimes, to be blatantly honest with you, you just need to be very brutally honest with these athletes. And sometimes, you know, there's just this soft mode, like, listen, okay, no, like, you aren't doing what you're supposed to do. And if you want to get there, this is what you need to do. And my experiences, my success here at Prep has kind of helped me in this position as far as credibility is concerned for kids to kind of see, like, listen, I know Savon Huggins did it. I know he had so many scholarships. I know he was a good athlete. I know he was this and that. So let me learn from him. So that kind of, helped my position kind of move along a little bit faster. But it has also created different avenues for me to be able to develop relationships with these coaches again that recruited me, like from Pat Narduzzi, the head coach at Pitt, who recruited me at Michigan State, and Coach Dave Cutcliffe at Duke, and Franklin, like at Maryland. Like, all these guys now I'm able to rekindle these relationships with, and to help them, find the next talent with my set of eyes, my experiences, and to kind of help the young athletes understand how to conduct yourself. I think that's one big thing outside of the academic and the sport, is how to carry yourself on a visit, how to, act, what should you wear, what should you do? Like, all those things matter. And people sometimes just think, okay, I need good grades and I need to be a good, athlete. Okay, that's the bare minimum. That's what you're expected to do. But
Right.
Let me explain this a little bit more. These are the questions you need to ask in recruiting visits. This is how you need to, come encounter, with a coach. You need to make sure you make eye contact. Your parents need to make sure that they are dressed, well kept, because you know what? Everything is all first impressions. They notice all those things, and they'll never tell you that, and they're not supposed to, but you need to know these things. You need to be aware of these things, because that's how they, evaluate you. When you go to a bowling event, you aren't going bowling to go bowling. They want to see who's going to compete at the bowling alley, and recruits don't think about that. Oh, we going bowling. All right, cool. That one star player who thinks he's too good to bowl. Okay, maybe we thought that he was this, but we don't want him on our team because he's afraid to compete. But they don't think about that. I just don't feel like bowling. Well, it's not about what you think about doing. Are you willing to sacrifice whenever what's given in front of you? And those are the things I think that I bring to the table as far as bridging the gap and educating these student athletes on the whole entire spectrum of, what it takes to be a collegiate athlete and what you need to do to prepare yourself.
I think that's amazing. I think it's very innovative. It's especially at the high school level. It kind of follows in sync with the college model, which I think more high schools need to do. I'm of the opinion that that high school education as a whole has to start gearing themselves to create successes for, and I'm not just talking athletically, but students as well, like in things that they're interested in doing earlier versus later. Like, instead of waiting, like we've talked about, till they go to college to start trying to figure that out. Like, let's figure out what they like now. It'll give them a leg up. And same thing on the athletic side, like getting them connected with coaches. I mean, that's the biggest, and you probably notice. I mean, prep is in a little different situation because of such a high level in sports. But the biggest complaint always of parents, with any high school that they go to, is that nobody knows how to get them recruited.
Right.
And it's random based off your coach. So if your coach knows what he's doing, you're good. If that's not his forte, then he could be a great coach, but may not be able to, go to college. But that bridge is such an important thing. I think in the long run, more high schools should be looking into that kind of a thing, even if it's a stipend position that's a part-time thing. But to be able to help athletes and their families get in a better position, because what schools don't realize, like, people are literally choosing high schools, and now even public schools, people are choosing to live in this town versus that town because this town has this and this town doesn't have this.
Right.
And, schools have to address it. So people don't really have to, like, wherever they want to live, they can live and know that this kind of thing gets taken care of. And I think, I think what you're doing, and I think more administrators will start seeing it, like, in the next 15, 20 years, that education has to change from that standpoint, because people's tastes have changed. This is not 1945.
You're right.
That's kind of how the education system was set up, post World War II. Let's make sure everyone has a chance to get educated. That was a bigger thing. okay, now we're starting to give more people chances to get educated. Let's now think about it at a higher level. Like, how can we help them succeed in where they want to go, not just get them the bare minimum education so they can get off to college.
Exactly right. Yes, I think it's like I said, it's such a need for it, and as I continue to grow this position, within the next year and a half or so, start doing workshops for different schools and stuff like that. Like I have the flexibility in this position to be able to go out and seek resources in other places and go to different professional days, and I'm planning on trying to go this spring to probably, Clemson or Alabama or one of those schools to kind of see how they set things up, at an elite level. I think, like, again, it's so important to have that balance. Even a school like, Duke basketball is great. A basketball team, how are they able to balance all these different things? What are they doing that we aren't doing? And implement those things here at prep. So, I've been very fortunate to be in a position that I'm in. And again, it's definitely cutting edge. No other school, no other parochial school or any other school in the state has the position that I have. And like I said, it's a need. And when coaches from other schools come in, they see the difference as far as the process is concerned in helping us get that kid, and it's like a kind of like an order. And that kind of gives, the coaches more comfortability when it comes to them recruiting and getting to know the guys and stuff like that. So it's been great.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I don't know whether you came up with it, Coach Hans, or some administrator, but whoever came up with it, brilliant.
Coach Hanson, yeah.
Coach it's brilliant.
Kind of do it for a while.
He deserves all the credit for that. It's really brilliant. So I the last couple of things. Where do you see TeamDoWit going? What as you're getting on your trajectory and starting to rise? What do you hope to have happen? What are you looking to have happen?
I envision to continue to grow the brand, the motivational, and get more ambassadors, more people. I don't even call them back. I call them a part of the alliance of different walks of life about them doing whatever it takes. And I want to be able to showcase that on like an uninterrupted level, where they take them through their daily life and kind of see, what it takes to be, successful. And it's been very fortunate that I actually able to get it, TeamDoWit, trademark. So, I got, that was the first thing I did. And I did a couple of other things. So to kind of showcase the motivational platform behind it all. And, the next, phase to that obviously is the training thing, how I started it, and just continue to train people and eventually open up a gym one day and to have a couple of the people that's part of the TeamDoWit, which is why I call it TeamDoWit, because it's more than one person. Lamar, loved the mentality and he co-signs with it. So it's been great to get other people that, who are trainers under that, DoWit umbrella. And then, lastly, the apparel side of things. I've always been into fashion. I've always been into, looking good, but also out there going to perform. So giving some people some sort of comfort when they work out, when they train, some nice gear that they're able to, rock while they're doing that. And those are the three things, again, that what I love to do.
Right.
I love this motivational speak, and I'm actually working on speaking at a entrepreneurship class at Rutgers, New Brunswick, within the next 2 weeks. So I did that. I spoke to Montclair State multiple times. So I spoke at some universities, some high schools, some middle schools, and elementary schools, and continue to grow that, organically, how that goes. But those three umbrellas are kind of the things that, I envision TeamDoWit continue to grow. And then supplementing with the motivational thing and the podcast that, I want to talk to you more about and create those things outside of that and continue to build, like, again, the brand. It's bigger than me. And that's how I envision it, if it take off, honestly, from this point, 2019, 2019 is a big year for TeamDoWit. So I'm excited for it.
Very cool. And I definitely want to be part of your alliance in any way I can. So that
absolutely.
Side with that, that'd be cool. What was I going to say? So where can people reach out to you? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you? Whether they want to train with you, whether they want to be part of what you're doing, how can they reach out to you?
So they can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at TeamDoWit. TeamDowit. That is our name on all social media platforms, on LinkedIn as well. Do it. Also, you can go on our website if you guys are interested in some apparel. TeamDoWit.com. So everything is TeamDoWit. TeamDoWit.com. And in the near future, we'll be coming out with a podcast for high school athletes. So stay tuned into that. That podcast is called Do Whatever It Takes podcast. So that, is another avenue, again, to help the youth and educate them on everything of the nuances of being a student athlete. And again, if you guys are looking for training, you can reach out to us on our website, or you can DM us or add us on any of the social media platforms, and we'll respond back to you.
Very, very cool. It's been great having you on and connected with you. Savon Huggins, I mean, I've been around a lot of guys. Very few guys have everything intact like you do. So I think it's going to be incredibly on the rise. Just from seeing you from the time you were 14 years old, and actually I have to say, for a 14-year-old, you were incredibly polished even back then. You may not have thought you were, but you really were, and that's a tribute to your parents. But it's amazing to see the success you're having, and for me, as someone who's lucky enough to see, like, even though I've only been in bits and pieces here, to be able to see that growth is just absolutely amazing. So I wish you much success in the continued future, which you definitely will have. And thanks for being on the Successful Life podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I genuinely appreciate it so much.
Thanks.